And here's the thing, this shift has nothing to do with working harder. If anything, it's about learning how to stop grinding so hard in the wrong areas. Because people who scale, those who really build legacies, not just businesses, they aren't just doing more, they're thinking differently. They start seeing themselves as the owner, the one responsible, not for doing the work, but for building the machine that does the work. And until you make that shift, you'll always be trading hours for dollars, even if you're the boss. You can't scale alone. I don't care how talented and disciplined you are. There are only 24 hours in a day. Leverage is the only way to break that ceiling. Every task you hang on to that isn't directly creating revenue or building your brand is costing you growth. Money is renewable, but time is not. And investing in growth shortens the learning curve. So when you learn and you get outside feedback, it helps you to avoid costly mistakes. All right, welcome back to the Daily Mastermind. George Wright III with your daily dose of inspiration, motivation, and education. Today, I want to talk to you. I want to dive into the single most important mindset shift that separates scalable, sustainable success from spinning your wheels in frustration. And this is the difference maker between entrepreneurs who plateau and burn out at 6 figures or those who break through to 7 figures and beyond. And here's the thing. This shift has nothing to do with working harder. If anything, it's about learning how to stop grinding so hard in the wrong areas. Because people who scale, those who really build legacies, not just businesses, they aren't just doing more, they're thinking differently. And if you've ever found yourself hustling every day, checking every box, wearing every hat, and still wondering why the growth you dreamed about seems just out of reach, then this is the episode that's going to be for you. And I'll warn you, once you see this shift clearly, you really can't unsee it. It'll change the way you run your business forever. Multiple times in my career where I've been in this same situation, I had multiple businesses, right? I've had this happen over and over, to be honest with you. I've been wearing every hat, sales, operations, marketing, customer service. I was that guy who believed if I just outworked everyone else, eventually I'd build my empire. And sometimes I feel that way today even. And so it's hard. It's a trap that we all fall into. But you know what? I hit a wall, and maybe you're feeling that way. Burnout, plateaus, that frustrating point where the harder I push, the less return I seem to get. And I always ask myself, is this really sustainable? And is it really what success is supposed to feel like? It wasn't until I heard Tony Robbins say something that really hit me right between the eyes. He said, "It's not about your resources, it's about your resourcefulness." Maybe you've heard that before, but first I thought he was just talking about being creative, getting new options I hadn't thought of. But the more I dug into this, the more I realized that resourcefulness is really about leverage. It's about knowing how to use time, people, systems, tools in ways that multiply your impact instead of leaving you and keeping you trapped inside the machine that you built thinking was going to get you the lifestyle. That's when the light bulb went on for me. I didn't just need to work smarter. I needed to completely change the role I was playing inside my own business. I had to stop being the bottleneck. Sometimes I feel like I am the biggest bottleneck. Entrepreneurs are that. And that brings us to the topic today. The number one mindset shift that every 7-figure business owner or entrepreneur makes. It's the shift from, listen to me closely, it's the shift from operator to owner. The shift from operator to owner. And here's the thing, when you shift from operator to owner, most entrepreneurs get stuck in operator mode. They're the ones running the show, doing all the work, answering every email, making every decision. And in the beginning, that's fine because your talent is really what helped you get to that point. In fact, it's necessary. You learn the ropes, you get close to your customers, you understand every moving part of your business. But if you stay there too long, it becomes a prison. I'm sure you can relate. An operator's business is limited to the actual operator and your capacity. If you're running everything, then growth will always be capped by your time, your energy, and your decision-making bandwidth. Owners, on the other hand, they design systems. They don't just run the business, they architect the business. And they step back and they say, how can I build this thing so it runs whether I'm in the office or whether I'm on the beach with my family? And so here's the question you got to ask yourself. Are you running your business or is your business running you? 7-figure entrepreneurs stop seeing themselves as the worker. They start seeing themselves as the owner, the one responsible, not for doing the work, but for building the machine that does the work. And until you make that shift, you'll always be trading hours for dollars, even if you're the boss. I find myself in that position over and over when I have new opportunities because I try to grind and get them going, but then I don't make the shift. And you need to make that shift. Now, here's another point that I want to talk to you about. Let's break it down. Once you make that shift, the next step is understanding leverage. You can't scale alone. I don't care how talented and disciplined you are. There are only 24 hours in a day. Leverage is the only way to break that ceiling. And there's 3 forms of leverage that I want you to think about today: people, systems, and tools. People, systems, and tools. With people, most entrepreneurs think they need to delegate tasks, things like post this on social media or send this invoice. But 7-figure entrepreneurs delegate outcomes. They hire people not to just do tasks, but to own the entire area of the business they're talking about. They empower them to make decisions, take responsibilities, and grow with the company. Now, that's pretty scary at first. I struggle with that too. Letting go feels risky, but better risk is kind of like the bigger risk in letting go. It's going to give you the better upside, if that makes sense. Because bigger risk is never letting go of keeping yourself trapped in the weeds. Does that make sense? Dan Sullivan talks about this. Maybe a better way to articulate it is he wrote a book called Who, Not How. In other words, most of us think of how we're going to do something when the answer is really who, especially if you're trying to scale things. And so people is very important. The next thing is systems. Systems are how you scale consistently. Think of McDonald's. Love it or hate it, they've mastered the systems. A Big Mac tastes the same whether you're in New York or Tokyo. Why? Because of the system. And your business needs the same kind of structure. Document your processes, build your playbooks, your SOPs, create repeatable workflows. That way, success doesn't depend on your memory or presence. It also doesn't depend on people. It depends on the system. Does that make sense? So systems are important. And then tools. Look, we live in a time where AI, automation, and digital platforms can multiply your output for a fraction of the cost of hiring more people. I talk about that with our authority marketing. You could spend 1 hour a week and be put in front of millions of people. And if you're not using tools to free up your time, you're leaving a ton of growth on the table. So here's the filter I use. Your calendar should reflect your value, not your obligations. If what's on your calendar doesn't match the things that actually grow brand or increase revenue, then you're misusing your actual most precious resource, your time. So make sure that you find ways to use tools as well. So people, systems, and tools. Now, the last thing I want to talk to you about is you have to adopt an abundant mindset about time. So let's just take a second and talk about this. Most entrepreneurs live in scarcity mode when it comes to their time. They say things like, I can't afford to hire help. I'll do it myself. It's faster. I don't have time to train someone. I can't take time out to teach that person something. But here's the truth. You can't afford not to if you want to grow your business. Every task you hang on to that isn't directly creating revenue or building your brand is costing you growth. 7-figure entrepreneurs treat their time as their most valuable asset. They protect it, they guard it, they invest it wherever they can get the biggest return. So let me give you a practical exercise. Take a look at your to-do list or your calendar this week, for example. Circle every task that directly grows revenue or ones that, for example, build brand equity or strengthen your relationships. Then put a star next to everything else. All the things with stars, you need to delegate, systematize, or eliminate. One of my mentors, Robert Stuberg, used to say at the end of the year, he would always try to prune. He would delegate, systematize, or eliminate things, just delete them. So when you operate from abundance, you realize that freeing up your time isn't a luxury. It's literally a necessity if you want to scale. And this is why time is something that you've got to grasp. Now, last thing before we go, let's talk about investment. One of the biggest shifts that you'll see in entrepreneurs who hit 7 figures is that they stop seeing learning, coaching, hiring as an expense. They see them as accelerators. I'm constantly learning. I've got a mentor and a coach, these individuals that can look at my situation and give me advice from the outside looking in. The main reason is because money is renewable, but time is not. And investing in growth shortens the learning curve. So when you learn and you get outside feedback, it helps you to avoid costly mistakes. And I'll give you an example. I spent 6 figures over years on masterminds, coaching, mentoring, And every single time I've gotten something out of it that's paid back 10 times, not just in revenue, but in clarity, speed, access, whatever it is. And so if you want to think like a seven-figure entrepreneur, you need to get in rooms with seven-figure entrepreneurs, because that's how you're going to get there. You're going to have to surround yourself with that. So that's just a thought I want to throw out there for you. If this episode makes sense to you, if you can relate, do me a favor. So first of all, subscribe to the podcast, but share it with another founder or entrepreneur. That you don't keep this stuff to yourself. Somebody in your network needs to hear this today, and I would really appreciate it if you'd share the show. And if you're serious about identifying exactly where you're stuck, one of the things that I'd recommend is run over to our website, or I'll put it in the show notes here. Go get your authority score. I created this new authority scorecard in order to help you to figure out where you are in business with your personal branding and authority. It's a pretty powerful tool. You can go to theauthorityscorecard.com. It'll show you exactly where to shift your focus, what you're working, what's working, because authority is really the new currency, and you need to know where you stand in order to take action. So that's my message for today. I hope it's something that has taught you something, or maybe inspired you or motivated you to do something different with your time. But make that shift mentally. And I appreciate you being here with me today. You've got so much potential inside you. Doesn't matter if you're killing it right now or if you're feeling stuck. You've got greatness inside of you. It's never too late to start living the life you're meant to live, but you got to take action. So that's my message for today. Have an amazing day. I will talk with you more tomorrow.